have a little problem. I don't want to turn it into a confession, though. Right now, it's not a confession. But if I don't share the problem with you, come up with a solution, it's going to be a confession. You see, I've said many times in writing and with tongue that if I say it, if I accuse it, it's the truth and it's provable. I have the proof. So now I want to say something. It's the absolute truth. So I can rebut a lie. But I don't have the proof on this one. Just my word. That's all I got on this one. So here it goes. Understand, I do not have the proof of what I'm about to say. But it's absolutely true. Every word. Call this the report. Isn't it ironic that on our day, Scott and mine and John's day, our anniversary, 1 year ago today, when the nice deputy took his friend John from the animal control place and came to visit me, came into my home, beat me up, took my dog, and left. But they left. He left, the cop. He left with looking for an exchange of words. His words were, if I ever hear that you mentioning this down the road or anyplace else, if it ever comes back to me, I'll be back for you. Mr. Deputy Scott, sorry, but I mentioned it over and over again, and I'm going to continue. Now, the sarcasm is on my face. I can see it. I was hoping that wouldn't happen. But you've had a year, man. You've had a year to reckon with this. You chose not to. You chose to hide. You chose to cover up. All the time. I've told you over and over and over again. On Facebook, on here, and writing. I didn't keep it a secret. If I say it, I have the proof. Did you think it was a bluff? Sorry. On January 14th, 2 days after, I call it the anniversary day because on January 12th, John from Bay County Animal Control came to my home with another different deputy. And I was able to get them to go home. I told them that without paperwork, I'm not turning over my dog. I don't know him from Adam's house cat. Why would I give him my dog? You came to my house to tell me my dog, who was at in the house, had bitten someone. Well, that's a hard one. Since the someone isn't here to say it, there's no report in front of you, in your hand. There's nothing in your hand. I wasn't letting that happen. No, I mean, I don't know. I can't see that you would have either. But in any case, you left. But you came back Monday. I was led to believe you were done. But you come back with the same way. Without the paperwork. Without procedure. Without any professionalism. Just a demand from a dog. Sandy. You even called him by name. Crazy, huh? And then you call the law. You call the county sheriff's department. And who arrives on the scene but none other than Deputy Dog himself, Scott Teeple. Well, Scott and I, this is the story. This is actually what happened. Of course, this man has a different version. But I'll show you right on here where I can prove he did try to sneak one by. On January 14th, after the initial knock on the door by John, he called the police, and Deputy Scott showed up. Now, what John and I spoke of was what I keep saying, that the lack of professionalism, and no paperwork, and everything. Give me a copy of what you're saying, man. Show me. You can't take my dog and not give me a receipt of some sort. Uh, anyway, I mean, I don't want to keep explaining that. That should be as obvious as hell. So the deputy and I spoke for, I'm bet, half hour to 45 minutes of the same thing, going round and around and around. I'd say what I'm feeling. He'd come back with, well, you got to give him the dog. And I say it again, and he'd say, you got to give him the dog. This went on for a long time. I can't believe I was stuck like that. But finally, I told him, look, I've had enough of this. I'm going to take my dog. We're in my backyard. I'm going to my home now. I'm going to my house. And come back with the paperwork. And we'll do this again. We'll have different results, I'm sure. I went in. A few seconds later, he knocked on my door. I say a few seconds later. I mean a few seconds. There's a tap on my window, on my glass. And when I went there, I looked out. I didn't see anybody. I opened the door and leaned out, and he was up against the wall, like he was trying to blend in, camouflage in. And when I leaned out, he grabbed me by my arm, or tried to, and he missed. I didn't get a good grip. I was able to back up and back into the house. We exchanged a word or two, and not violent words, no threats or anything. Just what the hell was that all about? He knew that he wasn't allowed in the house. He knew that I knew that too. And anyways, I went back in. Now I'm in the house for 2 or 3 minutes. I get on the phone with a friend of mine up north, a lady friend of mine, and we're talking. I turn around because I hear my door sound like it was opening, and sure enough, it was. It did. It opened and closed, and there stood Deputy Don. I'm sorry for the names, John, but I'm a little bit pissed, you know. I mean, John and Scott, Christopher, whatever you want to call him, and demanding I give him the dog. In an or else kind of. My hands were in the air, and the phone in my hand, still on, still with the voice thing on, loudspeaker. And he demanded the dog. I told him no. I'm gonna get out of my house, man. You know you can't be in here. And I told him I was gonna dial 911 and tell him that there was an armed intruder in my house. Which at that point there was. And I told him that. That was the end of the conversation. He dove at me, and that was it. It was on. It wasn't on. I was on. It was over. You know, he took me down, and beat me down, cuffed me, and while that was happening, John came running in like a second wave. You know, like a sapper team all by himself coming up under the water. A second wave, and just a dog around the neck. Tools, those poles were, no, drags the dog out. I can hear him leaving. It's fucked up, you know, when you hear the dog leaving, choking, gagging. And when he was gone, the deputy picked me up, literally, by the handcuffs. I'm cuffed in the back now, by the middle of the handcuffs. Picks me up. He had his elbow in here, so I got some weight here. Otherwise, he'd have broke my wrist off. He stands me up. Turns me around. He says to me, it wasn't a whisper, but he was talking towards my ear. If I ever hear of this, and he's uncuffing me at the same time, if I ever hear you speaking of this, or hear anybody else ever speak of this, because you told him I'm coming back after you. I'm coming back for you. And he repeated that as he walked towards the door. I walked right behind him, or right at him. And he left. During the altercation, I was pretty much hollering because he was all about my head and shoulders. Get off my head! Get off my head! You're smothering me! I was on my stomach, and I just got out of the hospital about 7 to 9, 10 months ago from life-saving brain surgery. And he mumbled something in a humorous manner. He thought it was funny, I guess. Yeah, you had brain surgery a long time ago. So that's just so we understand, um, that that isn't a tattoo, okay? Uh, and I don't know if he saw that on the way out the house and had a different mindset or what. But look, the guy, I've given the guy a year. I've communicated with him for the first month or so, or longer, personally. Come on by and say hello, talk to me. What's up? And then, so I did a report, internal affairs. Yeah, internal affairs. Yeah, I haven't forgotten you either. But this is me and this guy's anniversary, so it's a special day. But you're coming. I got you in a report also. I got you in a video too. It's coming up. Uh, but where was I? Anyways, he left. I don't know, and I gave him the opportunity. He had 1 year to make this right. He and John both. Instead, they got in deeper and deeper and deeper, calling the bluff all the way. And I wasn't bluffing. You can't do that to people. But I guess a lot of people say, I'm going to do something about it, but they never do. Or they get scared off. Well, those people are normal, I guess. They are easily use scare tactics on. Been there. You know, I've been terrified. Happy anniversary, guys. The true story is the one I just told you. 11 minutes have gone by, 12 minutes. I wasn't going to make this a long one, but I guess it's our anniversary. We'll make it a special day. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you just heard my story. And it's the absolute truth. Swear on the Bible, swear on kids, not necessary. Because I'm telling you the truth. Every word. Have been from this point on. Why would I dismantle everything I've built in this case with one bullshit story when I've got tons and tons of evidence? Okay? The report. The incident happened on January 14th. When is an incident report supposed to be done? That's rhetorical. You have an incident, you do a report. Take notes and do a report right away. So I said, rhetorical, what do? I answer. January 14th. This report was written February 21st. 5 weeks later. It was written by Officer Reporting S. Teeple. Offenses cleared by arrest. I don't know what that means. It says arrested, 0. Number of offenses cleared by arrest, 0. I see, okay. That's the same as an NA, I guess. And then the case was assigned to none other than Teeple, Christopher. I inquired whether or not there was not. There's one whose name is Christopher Scott Teeple. I might have it wrong. It might be Scott Teeple. So it might be Scott Christopher Teeple. Who knows? I don't think he knows. So there is the best evidence I can give you against what I said. Twice, the first 2 things on this report. He's showed where he did the wrong thing. He wrote the report that happened on February 14th. On January 14th, he wrote on February 21st. 5 weeks later. And I don't know if I can find it here for you. Okay? And his name is in 2 out of 3 lines. But down 2 different ways. First initial, last name, and then a last name, whole first name, but different than the one with the first initial. Let me tell you, that's the way it is. Home address confidential, and I don't even want it. His name is Scott C. There it is. Here we go. I'm going to read it fast because I told you my story. I don't have to just dissect it now. January 14th, I responded to my address in reference to aiding another agency, Animal Control. Upon my arrival, I met with the Animal Control officer. He stated that he had a pickup order or something hostile about a pit bull that bit a child. Never happened. No child was ever around. I said I wasn't going to do that, but I didn't know that. That's the first time I've seen the word child, or the second time maybe, I've seen the word child in the same report in this whole year. There was not a child bitten. There was not a child on the scene. Well, that was one. There was no scene. The other day, and that the owner, myself, of the dog is being hostile to him and uncooperative. I began to talk to Douglas, and I explained to him that he had to turn this dog over to the animal control to be quarantined. Douglas became verbally abusive and grabbed his dog, then began. It's not good on his left side. The word is off. Began something inside, so we couldn't get to the animal. I told Douglas that if he didn't cooperate with us, he could be charged with not giving the dog and hindering us in an investigation of a possible dangerous dog. He then disregarded my orders and took the dog inside. That's twice took the dog inside, a few seconds. I had the animal control officer secure the two other pits so I could pit bulls so I could enter the yard to knock on Douglas's door. Once Douglas saw that we were securing his other dogs for our safety, he came out again and began to yell at us. This time, I was next to Douglas on the porch and told him again that he needed to comply with the order from Animal Control to give them the dog. Douglas became increasingly hostile towards me. I have dealt with Douglas in the past and know that he was a prior police officer. That would be me. I left that one out, yeah. From another state, and then he has had some type of brain surgery that he says makes him have violent outbursts. Due to Douglas becoming increasingly hostile and having access to several knives that were laying in his kitchen, several knives were laying in my kitchen. Where was I supposed to keep my knives? They were right next to the forks. What the hell was that all about? Where we were talking, and I made the decision to detain him for my and the animal control officer's safety. You 30-year-old hunk of a man, you and 300-pound wrestler, John? Okay. While detaining him, Douglas began to scream and yell wildly and move around. At first, I didn't know what was going on, but then saw that he had his house phone on and was making a scene to the person on the phone. But that was my first sentence. How come it's almost at the end of this? After Douglas realized I wasn't going to be influenced by his outbursts, he stopped and apologized to me for his unacceptable behavior. Douglas stated that he had brain surgery. I said, you just said that, and it affects him. So he also explained to me that his dogs are like kids to him, and he loves them. Douglas, for the way he acted and for not giving the dog up. I advised Douglas that I was only detaining him for our safety because I didn't know if he was going to try and hurt us or if he was having a violent episode due to his brain surgery. Now, understand, I was 64 years old at the time. I had a couple days ago was my birthday, and so I'm now 65. But the point is, there's a 64-year-old disabled veteran that just is going to beat up these two guys, I guess, with his kitchen knives next to his spoons and forks. And I was going to try to hurt us, so if he was having a violent episode due to his brain surgery, again with a brain surgery. I, along with animal control, explained to Douglas that he was going to get his pit bull back if it was cleared the screening process. Douglas stated he understood, and it was going to happen. I'm over to 15 minutes. Damn it. And cleared against apology, and again apologized for his outburst. My goodness, Jesus. For him hindering animal control official duties. I decided not to because the subject clearly has some type of brain surgery and he loves his animals. My God. Douglas was in a heightened emotional state, and I understood where he was coming from. I believe compassion and leniency was needed in the case instead of me arresting the subject. This subject is out. Have a nice day. I think. How do I get out of here?